Hades, I can no longer tolerate my life here in this place. So I'm leaving, even if it kills me. I won't be returning to Olympus. If there is a place where I belong in this world, it must be somewhere between heaven and hell. Perhaps it's on the coast and has a little garden. Take care of Cerberus. I shall miss him. Persephone.
Who's there? Pray, who might you be wandering all the way out here? You're trespassing on private property, you know. Speak up. What? How dare! Get out of here! Get out or I shall make you! Out with you!
You died. You died. Those burning feet, they sputtered out when you were born. But now you're standing here before me. How? Alive. Zagreus, he even kept your name. You live. How can this be? You live. You live. Oh, the cruel fates. My son. He told you that, did he? That's good. That's good. Though, tell me something, Zagreus. How is it that you found me? To have journeyed all this way, I scarce believe it. Zagreus? No, that isn't it. It's that you cannot stay here. You can't stay here. The fates are cruel, Zagreus. You're bound to that place. Same as your father. So they would have us say goodbye, for now. My heart soars knowing you live. But then it breaks that our time together was so brief. You tell him I demand it. And I demand he also tell me how come he, or for that matter Nyx, never sent notice that you lived. Olympus is all rife with schemers. But I was so naive to think that they were different. The Styx shall take you then. Oh, Zagreus. Farewell, my son. Won't you come back to me? When you are able, please, come back. I shall be waiting here. However long it takes. Zagreus! Zagreus! Zagreus? You're back! You're back? Ah, you're back! My son! Is that you, Zagreus? Oh, it's you! Is that you? Zagreus, you're back! Welcome back, my son. I begged the fates that you'd return to me. Perhaps I ought to be more careful how I speak of them. Tell me, how was your journey? What happened? I wanted to see you too. Come, speak quickly with me, that our time together here may be as full as possible, all right? I couldn't live with myself anymore down there. After I left Olympus, a long story in itself, I came to be with your father in the underworld. It was a shock, to say the least. The others in your father's house were welcoming enough, but I never felt that I belonged. No. Your father could be very difficult, though he was gentle with me. Soon enough we got on fine, better than fine at times, but when I was with child, why, I struggled terribly. Because a child born of surface dwellers could not live down there. According to them, yes. According to your father and to Nyx. Even having heard, I took my chances anyway. But when you emerged stillborn, it was too much. I fled. I fled and came to reside here. Above the notice of the underworld. Beneath the notice of Olympus. I don't know. I'm wondering the same. But oh, look at you, Zagreus. We're running out of time. It's happening again. Stay with me, please. Oh, my dear son. Then please, ask Hades what you asked of me. Why he would lie. Tell him I must know, the same as you. And you farewell. Until we meet again. Wait, slow down, Zagreus. What do you mean? He told me you would not survive your birth, yet here you are. How wasn't that a lie? He never expected you to survive. Then, forgive my asking, but why did you? How did you? The Fates are not known for making mistakes when it comes to such things. Nyx. Of course she was involved. I only managed to escape because of her. Then she restored my stillborn son to life and nurtured him? And I never would have known unless that child, fully grown and having learned the truth, defied his father and then found me here. Would I have come back? To see my only child? Had I but known you lived, I would have gladly gone through hell again to see you, Zagreus. Of course I would have. What if he didn't want me coming back to him? Or seeing you? Oh no, you're fading again, Zagreus. You've pushed yourself too hard. But what is it you meant by what you said? So good to see you again, Zagreus. Since last you left, I couldn't help but think the worst about what happened after I had left. Or soon before. You mentioned Nyx. You don't suppose that she and Hades wanted me out of the way? Yes. I knew them long enough to have decided yes, that they were trustworthy. As much as anyone I've ever met. But I also know never to be trusting to a fault. I have to consider the possibility I was deceived. Well, they have a funny way of showing it, I think. Your father, so you have to get through him each time you visit me? Protecting me? Why, Zagreus, what do you mean by that? As you can see, I can fend for myself. What? How would you know something like that? Zagreus? Ah, curse the Fates. You're leaving me again. Son, I have to ask you, how much do you know about your relatives upon Olympus? No. Zagreus, what have you done? You've let them here? But then, does Hades know of this? That Olympus is involved? So Nyx and Hades are against each other then? And Olympus is helping you? But they don't know I'm here as far as you're aware. That fool. What was he thinking? What is he thinking? Do you suppose he thinks that he's protecting me from them? Oh no. Vindictiveness runs in the family, my son. Then if Olympus is involved, that would explain a lot. I'm here, not there with them, as you can see. But, oh, it seems we'll have to speak some more when next you return. I could not stand it on Olympus, Zagreus. The blustering, the posturing, my overbearing mother. None of it. I would have left the mountain voluntarily, except that fool is trying to protect me even now. It wasn't he who absconded with me, my son. And it's more complicated even than that. I was content to leave, willing to make my life within the underworld, with your father. We have a tendency to be impetuous when we are younger, Zagreus. I heard all about your father before we met, admired paintings of him. It was very awkward at first, but he had a bluntness I fancied, a sense of principle. I much preferred him to his brothers, I can tell you that. I think there would be war between Olympus and your father, Zagreus, if they found out. Especially now, after all this. And after all this time. They slew their parents once. If the Titans could be wiped from this world, so can we all. I can see how your father, shrewd but also single-minded as he was, might have followed such a line of reasoning as that. Oh, Zagreus. What have I done? Zagreus. It's wonderful to see you, but I need to ask something of you. That you not visit me again, here in this place. Both for your safety and for mine. I am. Your father is no fool when it comes to matters such as this. Besides, all that has happened, it's my fault. I was selfish. And now both sides of our family threaten to be torn apart. Nyx may be veiling you from them as she veiled me when I fled here myself. But even her own powers aren't infallible. Each time you visit me, you are incurring risk. One small slip, and they shall find me. Discover your deception. Go home, Zagreus. Please. Oh, Zagreus. I cannot return. After all that happened between Hades and me, and everyone, I just cannot fathom the idea. Besides, the risks we're taking would be even greater if Olympus were to find me there with him. And you, my son. I know you've made hard choices and sacrifices to be here with me. And I'm forever grateful to have finally met you. But this is my home now, yes. While your home is below. Please, if not for your sake, then for mine, do not return. I love you, Zagreus. Goodbye. Goodbye. You have your father's stubbornness. Listen to me. You're endangering everything you care about by coming here. Don't you understand? Besides, the truth is that I like it here, Zagreus. I've done well for myself on my own. And your father, he has his domain to look after. The feelings he once had for me, feelings we shared, they fade with time. You'll understand someday. What do you mean he still loves me, Zagreus? How would you know? Oh, you're fading, son. You don't need to prove anything to me. Please don't do anything rash. All of us made our choices. Now we have to live with them. Isn't it enough to know that I'm safe? That I'm content to be alone? Oh, my dear boy. Of everything down in that gloomy house, I miss old Cerberus the most, I think. But I miss other things as well. The lack of light was gentler on my skin, not being as cold. And Nyx and her young sons. It was all very odd, but I was fitted for those garments when I first arrived. They were not my customary style. So Hades has a portrait of me still. Why would he put it back on display now? Because he loves me still. Is that what you want me to say? All I really wanted was to leave Olympus. I didn't exactly abscond. I doubt I had much of a choice, but I went willingly. Perhaps Zeus knew how I felt, and thought he was doing me a favor. As for Hades, I grew to love him, yes. He always gave me my space. I just don't know, my son. Olympus is behind me. And the underworld. I cannot imagine I would be very welcome there after all this time. Oh, Zagreus, I almost missed you. Truthfully, I hoped that I could make it a surprise. My arrival. I'm going. To your home. To Cerberus, Nyx, your father. I am. Now, if you could just help me pack up my remaining things. Only a few loose odds I'm bringing, just in case. If we hurry, maybe you could join me, rather than return the customary way. Not something a mother ever wants to see. Just so happens I know somebody who can give us a ride. Doubtless he has pressing matters to attend to. So let's not keep him waiting any longer, son. Come on, then. You're on the river Styx. No longer in the mortal realm entirely. I know. My heart is racing. Nothing like a river journey to remind oneself that there's no turning back. We'll have plenty of time for them, I think. For now, best we keep quiet. Pretend we're just a couple of dead souls on their final voyage. Charon, sir. Have anything to listen to along the way? Oh, I like this one. Eurydice and Orpheus. Snow everywhere. Mother, we're here. That's quite all right. I do. In the name of Persephone the Queen, open the gates! I spent many days tending this garden. Or nights? Quite difficult to tell the time here. But it's held on longer than I would have expected. Cerberus? Cerberus! I missed you so. And dutiful as ever, aren't you, Hades? You look tired. Though I am not the only one you ought to be apologizing to. Oh, I have a thought or two about how we can settle that. Though I shall need for you and Zagreus to cooperate with me on a solution. Or, if you'd rather, I could just return the way I came. You're right, Hades. I can't. Certainly not by myself. So are you going to help me or what? Then first, Talk to your son. Oh, stop it, both of you! Don't make me regret this, Hades. Speak honestly with him. About yourself, not me. Go on. Perhaps you'll also tend to my little cottage while you're in the area. The garden doesn't take much care at all. I'd like to keep the place in decent shape. In case I cannot suffer this for long, just do the best you can. And clearly I've work to do as well. We have a lot of it ahead of us, I'd say. So, shall we get started then? Zagreus, come here a moment, please. All right. We've matters with Olympus to resolve. They don't know I'm here, most of them, besides Zeus, maybe Athena. They think you're Nyx's son rather than mine, and that your goal is still to join them on their mountaintop. What can we do? We can make peace with them, and let them know the truth. So much of it as they would tolerate. Diplomacy is not your father's strong suit, but I'm going to need you two to do exactly as I say. Do you understand? We're going to invite all of them to a little family gathering. Here. And you shall personally deliver them their invitations, Zagreus. They certainly shall not be fine with everything. But Hades and I will be prepared to tell them what they need to hear. Don't worry. I shall do the talking. Oh, you know. That we met, fell in love, eloped, had a child. A child who, once grown, sought desperately to reconnect with his extended family. To the chagrin of his grim lord father. Fortunately, our loving and dutiful son at last persuaded his mother and father to reveal their secretive relationship and make an effort to rejoin their great family. I'll deal with her. Perhaps I'll have to visit her and the rest of them from time to time, if that's what it shall take. But I'll be back. I've no choice. Did you know that if you eat the seeds of an underworld pomegranate, then you cannot leave for 1 month out of the year per seed? Neither do they. Soon after you invite them all, I hope. Now go. And trust in me, all right? We have a lot to learn of trust, I think. How goes the doling out of invitations, Zagreus? Had the Olympians been amenable to the idea? A bit of collaboration seemed in the spirit of things. We're a great big family, Zagreus. Past time we started acting like one, no? Now keep it up. And thank you for your help. Nyx's parent. You've been in contact, then? Look, if you feel it's the right thing to do, I trust your judgment. The spirit of this event is to bring the family together. Excellent, Zagreus. Congratulate him, Hades. On a job well done. It's known as trust, Hades. Or faith. They're similar. Try one sometime. It'll be good for you. As for what we do next, why, we've a great big feast we must prepare. Yes, good. Now then, we have a lot of work to go around, so why don't we call everyone on staff and let them in on this, and dole out suitable responsibilities, all right? All right. Well, I'm glad it worked out for the best. There's just one thing that happened that I ought to tell you about, son. No secrets between us and all. This is quite difficult for me to say. Indeed. Something like that. You're quite perceptive, have I ever told you, Zagreus? But yes, my mother, she was quite conflicted. Didn't know whether to smite me or to hold me. Maybe both. And yes, she asked that I come home. To my responsibilities. Oh, it's not as bad as that, it's just... If we are to keep the peace down here, then I must spend some time up there. Every so often. But I shall always return in no time at all. I promised Hades, and I promise you. Soon, Zagreus. Perhaps by the time you're back. You know the surface isn't good for you. Besides, you're needed here. But if you really want to see it for yourself someday, who knows? Perhaps eventually we'll figure out a way. I'm going to miss you too, son. Zagreus! Ah, look who it is! Zagreus, I'm back. So good to see you, son. Whew, I just got back. Good to be back at last. Things are well enough upon Olympus.
though it's a relief to have come home again. Don't think I'll ever get fully accustomed to Olympus, son. Zagreus, you're the most welcome sight I've seen in quite some time. Always such an exhausting journey from Olympus down to here. I trust that you and Hades have been good to one another since I left. I'll tell you, it is so much colder up there on that mountaintop. This is a welcome sight from all the snow-capped mountaintops. We have to say farewell again for now, my son. Olympus calls. But I'll be back, all right? I shall be leaving again for Olympus soon. I'll miss you, son. I must go visit Mother on Olympus, Zagreus. I'll tell her you said hi. I have to go again soon, Zagreus, all right? I'll see you soon. I'm due to visit Mount Olympus once again. So please be good to one another while I'm out. Time that I headed up to Mount Olympus, though you keep an eye on things till I get back. I have to go now, Zagreus. But I shall see you just as soon as I return. I'm sorry, Zagreus. I've pressing matters to attend to now. Do let me know if I can help with anything, all right? Your father's prouder of you than you think. Go make us proud, my son. Keeping the realm secure as ever, right? It's always nice to have a chat with you. I think the house is well enough in order as of late. I hope your last assignment turned out well. Do give yourself a break from time to time. I ever tell you you're the best son that a mother's ever had? Hope my little cottage on the coast is holding up. Please, keep an eye on my garden on the surface when you get a chance. I'd say this garden's doing quite all right for now. Don't let your father get to you too much, all right? You're looking just as well as ever, Zagreus. You show your father who's in charge next chance you get, all right? The pomegranate trees are coming in nicely still. The tough old things. You let me know if there's something that I can do for you. Why, thank you, Thanatos. I'll take you up on that if I can think of anything anytime soon. But my, you've grown. I understand you've been looking after my son in the meantime. I know how mortals hate waiting around. Well, I can see he has better taste than I do, Thanatos. I have a sense of how industrious you are. You just take care of yourself, please. And take care of each other too, all right? Oh, please, Nyx. No formalities between us, right? It's wonderful to see you too, my friend. The days there on the surface, they were very different, but the nights... I was reminded of our times together here. Good times, most certainly. I try not to remember the others. Well, having built a little house all by myself up there, I think I'm up for anything. You know what it's like. So if there's anything that I can do for you, Nyx, you need but ask, all right? I plan to pull my weight. Thank you, my friend. I have to tell you, it's good to be back. Oh, Cerberus. Doubtless you deserve the biggest thanks that this house still stands, don't you? Did you enjoy the treat I brought you from the surface? I thought you might. You wouldn't know it wasn't made of meat, I'll bet. I'll see if we can't grow you plenty more. You're such a good boy, aren't you, Cerberus? Yes, you are. Guarded the place while I was out, and even let my son come visit me. Do, sir. Wonderful to know you. This house is immaculate. Night and day difference from before. Now I know exactly whom to compliment. Thank you in turn. I hoped, but did not know for certain till I heard from you just now, Overseer Megara. And, if I may, I understand you have achieved an awful lot since I took my, leave of absence from this house. I see why Nyx and Hades put their trust in you. Likewise, you be sure to let me know if my son there happens to make more trouble for you than you welcome in your life. All right? Honored to have met you, great Achilles, our royal guard. Good to know whom to turn to should anything run afoul around here. So it was you who instructed my son in the martial ways. I am proud. You know, you were already quite the name back on the surface when I lived upon Olympus. I should think your legend spread much farther still since then. Ah, but to think that our esteemed musician of the court is none other than you, Orpheus. In matters of music, at least, Hades and I have similar tastes. Anyway, I don't mean to keep you. Oh, you're too kind. Oh, come on, Hades. Mortals are much more resilient than that. What, you think they'll show up at your gates here all at once? They have our family looking out for them. It's true we have to look out for them indefinitely, while Olympus need only look out for them for a little while. But our relatives are always watching from their mountain. And if they do turn a blind eye once in a while, mortals aren't bad at fending for themselves. They like us, Hades. They praise us, tell one another about us. What do you expect? Would you rather they forgot about us? Well, we need them. already taken care of. Though the flooding in Asphodel, that doesn't look like something we can clear up for quite some time. Fortunately, the residents seem to be getting accustomed to it. Well, they're probably contained up there, at least. And Zagreus has been keeping them in check, hasn't he? Oh, Hades. I think the shades around here have been through enough as it is. I don't mind them. After all the time I spent on my own, having some company has been a welcome change. Require? Look at this place, Hades. Look at me. I have everything. And so do you. Try not to worry quite so much. And be patient with your son. That's all I ask. I'm not going to tell you how to balance your work, your marriage, and your parental responsibilities. I don't think anybody on Olympus or below knows quite how best to manage that. So long as we do our best. The coast was nice enough, Hades. But nothing is ever perfect, right? No matter how hard you try. Still, I think we get quite close around here every once in a while. The heart can make us do the strangest things, can't it? Please excuse your father and me for the moment, Zagreus. Go on, Hades. Try saying something nice to him for once. Your father and I still have a bit of work here to wrap up. The work certainly never ceases, Zagreus. More than enough parchment work to go around. Plenty of parchment work to contend with, I can assure you, Zagreus. Don't go too hard on each other out there, all right? I've heard that you've been doing great out there lately, Zagreus. Oh, we're busy just formulating more of our dark schemes together, Zagreus. Nyx here is a wellspring of parental advice, as it turns out. Nyx was just telling me some more about your early days, my son. It seems I failed once again to persuade Nyx to take some personal time. Oh, Zagreus, you're so thoughtful, truly. Your father never permitted nectar out in the open, so I'd practically forgotten its savor. Though, just a moment. I have something for you, too. For me? Are you quite sure? You know, this vintage must have made it all the way up from the surface to the mountains, then to here. We've both had distant journeys, haven't we? I must confess, I do enjoy having a good bottle of nectar every now and then. And you appear to have a careful eye for such bottles, from what I can tell. Thank you very much, my son. You know, gift-giving customs of the underworld are just so much more straightforward than the complicated social graces of Olympus. Oh, this is wonderful, except I'm racked with guilt for having nothing much to give you in return. You never even got a mother's love from me. I'd like that even more than this fine nectar, Zagreus. Somebody raised you very well indeed, my son. Nyx, I suppose. I'll never be half the mother she is. She's done it for eons, while I'm only getting started. Thank you, Zagreus. Let's hope you're right. I nurtured very many plants, at least. Of that I can assure you. Perhaps my gardening experience provided a bit of a head start on this whole mothering thing. Why, this really is ambrosia. How did you even acquire this, Zagreus? It brings back memories for certain. And never the bad ones, which I think it must be why we prize this stuff so much. This is for me. Oh, my son. I shall certainly not need ambrosia to think back upon getting to know you with the greatest fondness. Thank you very much. You know, the last bottle you gave me brought more pleasant memories than I expected. No telling just how many more of them I've tucked away. Say, would it be all right if I share this with your father? Almost sounded like a no to me. Nonsense. There's also Cerberus. Present company excluded. Come on, son. Your father has a lot of work to do, but I'm absolutely certain that he has fond memories of you. Though I know that isn't reassuring coming from me. This is splendid, Zagreus, but please, if there's one thing I've learned since we met, it's that the trust we share is at the very foundation of our relationships. Why shouldn't he know who this is from? Besides, I think he could figure it out. I'm sure enough. And if he isn't, I suppose it's more for me. You know I always wanted to be a mother, Zagreus. But after you were born, I was certain I had lost my chance. Then one fine morning you just walked into my life. And here we are. I still cannot entirely believe it. What I mean is, I love you, son. I'm doing my best. Ugh, don't remind me. Imagine if I called you Zaggy Poo from when you were born to this very moment. That's how that name felt to me. I much preferred the name my father gave to me. He was kind to me. And funny. Little bringer of destruction I was to him. I liked that. He was right, I was a terror. But then he passed. I was very little still. My mother never spoke of him again. I suppose I can see that. I thought I might end up like father, growing old, wasting away. Then the time flew by, and I realized I was closer to mother's side. Mortals certainly don't have it easy. But their limited days, it means they live their lives to the fullest, I think. Indeed, my son. Were you able to make it to my cottage on the surface, Zagreus? I hope my lavender patches are doing all right. Ah, I was afraid of that. Well, don't despair. I placed a charm upon my seedlings there that ought to keep them flourishing well on their own. Your duty now is simply to escape. You keep it up. You know, I think it's gone all right so far. Thank you for asking, son. Everyone has been quite welcoming. The darkness is a pleasant change of pace. And while the stress can be a little difficult to move in, I quite like it. I'm sure it can. And I do miss my little cottage here and there, but I think I'm through running away. There may be times when it is necessary, of course. But no matter how far you run, it doesn't make your problems go away. You taught me that, you know. Tell me something, Zagreus. Sometimes I fear... Do you hate him? I mean your father. Regardless of his intentions. It sounds as though he made your life extraordinarily difficult. All his pent-up fear and anger. You bore the brunt of it. I understand. I think that when Hades told you he asked no forgiveness, he understood as well and meant it. Well, for all his failings, I'm thankful that he did not teach you how to hate. For your own sake, if not for his. So how has it been between you and your father lately, Zagreus? I know the two of you have lots of work ahead of you. Especially him. He says it so you put forth your fullest effort every time. All this is a big adjustment for him as well. Not that it's any excuse for how he's treated you. Are you all right seeing us together? Things are good, Zagreus. I'm from Olympus. All the relationships I've ever known have been the complicated sort. But with your father, despite our different dispositions and interests, beneath it all we share a simple understanding that we're all we've got, and that we love each other, through thick and thin. No, you're plenty. I was afraid of that. I wanted to believe the snow about my cottage. It was native to the climate there, but seems that Mother took my absence harder than I thought. Oh, what have I done? All those poor people. We can and shall. You know, it's funny. I think she was so overwhelmed to see me again that maybe something finally changed in her. I always thought she was utterly unyielding. She asked me if I truly came here by choice, and I put her at ease. I asked. She told me that she would. Warmth shall return to the surface. Some of the time, at least. Likely on a rigid schedule, knowing her. And perhaps not in the vicinity of our domain. She's not the sort to forgive and simply forget. Nyx has a very steady presence, doesn't she? I want to say she hasn't changed a bit since before you were born, but I know that she's been through a lot. Well, your father isn't always the conversationalist, and Nyx, she was the first chthonic god I ever met. I suppose she welcomed having another lady about the house. Zagreus, how am I doing, as a mother? Tell me honestly. Nyx has had so much to share about raising you. Foods you hated or enjoyed, your natural abilities, your friendships. She knows everything. Sometimes I wonder how I can ever compete. Thank you, my son. I know I wasn't there for most of the hard part, but I'm here now. Though when I inevitably, inadvertently trample all over your feelings at some point, please tell me, all right? I always fancied Thanatos, you know. So put together and everything. I'm pleased to see you've grown so close. Things good between you two? That Dusa sure has quite the uplifting presence around here, doesn't she, Zagreus? Sometimes I see you chatting and it warms my heart. Zagreus, I know you're upset about what happened between Nyx and Dusa. Before you ask, I need to respect Nyx's space and authority on this one, all right? Indeed, I saw that Dusa had returned. I trust Nyx's judgment, Though I must admit I was pleased to see she decided to give her another chance. Nyx told me that you helped her reconnect with her parent after a long, long time. That was very kind of you. She never asks for anything. But we all owe her a lot, don't we? Not really, no. Nyx is very private when it comes to personal matters. But she has feelings and desires same as anybody. Well, mostly. But the point is, I know this meant a lot to her. It seems Achilles had a complicated arrangement with your father. I understand you simplified things for the better there, and he was able to visit Elysium at last. Well done. So Orpheus was finally able to reunite with Eurydice because of you, my son. Ah, I'm so glad. Your father's arrangement with him was quite severe. Though he did ask for a lot for a mortal soul to return to the land of the living. Oh, I've no idea. Probably not. But we were so moved by Orpheus's plea and song that, well, I think your father took pity on him. I was. Your father knew I loved their music. Imagine my surprise to see him as our court musician here. Oh, why, he gave me his calling card after he graciously helped get me out of here the first time. No doubt at Nyx's request, but still. Never thought I'd use it, but I still kept it. Just in case. Turns out there's still an awful lot to do around here, isn't there, Zagreus? I'm still getting caught up on day-to-day affairs. Well, that was just a guess now that you mention it. In any case, forgive me if I don't get swooped up in every household detail, all right? Not a lot of fruit trees take to this environment, my son. Though there's something about pomegranates. Maybe it's that their seeds so resemble the gemstones your father liked so much. Or that they don't need much water. Well, I suppose there are a few. But I like pomegranates most of all. On the contrary, Zagreus. It has its own unique charm, as each garden does. I was impressed it wasn't left entirely to rot after my absence. He did, all right. Minus the part where you weren't allowed. Though, let's look after it from here, shall we? Oh, it's beautiful. I tried to persuade your father to hang it out in the hall, but he's too coy about such things. Though I like it where it is. A reminder to us, every day and night. It's lovely what you've done to this place, Zagreus. It's looking better than ever. Thank you. This garden may not have all the varieties available up on the surface, though it's coming along rather nicely, I should say. Good catch. Oh, good catch. Well caught. Nicely done. Ooh, look at that. Got that one all right. Alas for that. Next time, my son. Ah, well. Oof, almost. Can't win them all. Wasn't meant to be. Ah, there you are. Welcome, my son. Welcome back. Hello, my son. Zagreus. Greetings. I truly appreciate it. Well done, Zagreus. Excellent work, my son. I knew you could do it. Hello indeed. Zagreus, if you keep fighting out of here, it shall help keep appearances that everything is as it always was. I just don't know how I can ever repay you. For raising him. For everything. After I left, besides old Cerberus, I think maybe I missed you most of all. Anybody would have lovingly raised my estranged son while keeping safe my secret, eventually orchestrating an elaborate plot to reunite him with me, so that I might someday return to have a nectar with them in the lounge. Whew. I'd say that went about as well as could have been expected. And the cleanup wasn't all that bad. For the most part, Zagreus. I may not be an expert, but here's what I've come to understand about how families work. At least our own. The thing is, how we speak to one another is even more important than the words we use. I think, deep down, everyone in our family knows this. The common ground in our family is that we want peace. Besides Ares, though even he would rather the conflict occur elsewhere. That elaborate tale, it's less a deception and more a concession. A way of saying, let's move on from the past and start anew. No hard feelings. Well, let's see. My hard feelings are nothing next to the joy of having my son in my life. Your father never imagined his relationship with me could be out in the open. And my mother, she's just glad I'm alive. What can I tell you, Zagreus? We're family. You've said it yourself to me before. We're stuck with one another. That any of us like each other in the slightest. It's a wonder and a blessing, I think. Sounds good. I'll see you then.